Viewers' discretion. Please be aware that the views and opinions expressed by our guest are those of our guest solely, and they are not the views and expressions of the podcast or myself as Madam Speaker and the studios where we are recording. So if you want to come through as somebody who has the right to reply, if the episode is saying anything about you, you are more than welcome to reach out to us. But I want to emphasize that the views and opinions of the guest are solely of the guest and do not represent our channel, our podcast, or myself in any way, shape, or form. Whenever I face challenges, I'm always excited about what is going to happen after those challenges. Money should not be on number one when it comes to the list of things that you are hoping to get out of your passion project. Number one, I'm a perfectionist. Number two, I don't like disappointing people. Number three, I don't like owing people. Be fearless, because when you are fearing something, your faith falls off. How you test yourself and your heart is very, very important. You need to do that check. Nobody was trusting to give me a house to rent because my credit was really, really bad. What's up, everybody? Welcome to my channel. My name is Perseverance Maremini, also known as Madam Speaker, also known as the CEO of Self-Love. Today, don't even expect a guest. It's just going to be myself in this comfortable, safe space. And we're going to be talking about the year 2025. The lessons, the highs, the lows, and what we're going to be taking and crossing over with to 2026. And before we even start, I think so many times I've said, especially on my live podcast, that I'm a big fan of New Year's resolutions, okay? And in me believing in New Year's resolutions, I also believe that on the list of things that you've written down, it's not everything that God is going to grant you for that year. Some of the things you can carry them over to the next year. Like God answered me, some of them I had to carry them over to the year 2024, to the year 2025. And also now that we're going to be crossing over to the year 2026, I think there are some of the things that I'm still going to carry over, but that should never ever disappoint you or, make you not to want to write New Year's resolutions, because they actually help, in terms of that. This is my belief. You don't have to set them up if you don't believe in New Year's resolutions, but now I believe in them. I believe that it kind of gives me a structure to implement certain things in my life in a certain order. And if it happens, it happens. And if some of things don't happen, I won't get disappointed. I will just carry them over to the next year. So starting from 2024, when we were crossing over 2025, one of the things that I wrote down there, which is something that has been crossing over the years, was that I wanted God to bless me with a house, And when 2025 started, you guys, it was so terrible for me. It was the time where I was trending for one of the guests that came here on my podcast, and people were just saying a whole lot of things. And I know that because of how I'm wired so differently that when something like that happens, well, I know it's painful for that period, but for me, I'm always excited for what God has in store for me on the other side of whatever that is trending or whatever negative thing that is happening. This is applicable across the board for me. Whenever I go through stuff, I always ask myself, for God, I cannot wait to see what you have for me on the other side of this challenge that I have to overcome now. So it kind of gives me that boost to want to hang on and not to give up, So when all of that happened, I knew that whatever that God had in store for me for 2025 was big. So I just continued to say, okay, because during New Year's Eve on the 31st, I prefer to be by myself. I prefer to be sitting somewhere where there's birds are singing or stuff. Like, I prefer nature, man. When I am about to cross over to the following year, I prefer to meditate by myself. And I know that in the long run, it's probably not going to be as effective because, the more you invite people into your life, there are certain people that you can't entirely separate with when it comes to you having to do certain things. You're going to have to do with them. And sometimes they just have to understand that this is your life, and this is how you prefer to do things when it comes to you having to cross over from one year to another. So I'm a big fan of meditating and reflecting and just, having a conversation with God about what my heart desires for the following year. And also praying that God must give me the grace to accept whatever it is that He feels like out of everything that I desire, this is what I'm going to give you, So having a house is one of the things which were like top of the list, which I feel like for the longest time, I wanted it, but it was not yet time. So from the beginning of the year, when we started 2025, I applied for a house. But before I applied for a house, obviously, I started with just, you know, trying to check with the financial institutions, or how much can you give me to buy a house and all of that stuff. I really, honestly speaking, was not expecting a lot. But when I discovered what I can get to be able to buy a house, my jaws were on the floor. Yeah, I get it a lot where people say, or I kind of underestimate myself when it comes to the amount of hard work that I put in. Maybe it's because the only language that I understand from a young age is hard work. I believe that I work hard not because I'm expecting results. Yes, I am expecting results, but in a way, I feel like I work hard because it's just the nature of who I am. You know, I grew up looking at my grandmother who worked very hard. Yes, you could see the results of it, but hard work was just part of the business. So even with me, even when things are happening easily, for me, it becomes a concern because I'm not used to things just falling into a place so simple. I'm one person who is usually working very hard before things can actually fall into place. So when things happen like that, it's scary. It's like, okay, maybe it's a scam, maybe it's a joke, maybe this won't happen or whatever, you know? So in 2025, the first thing that actually happened, which is a New Year's resolution that came to pass, was that God granted me a house that I had been praying for the longest time. And when I got that house, it was just a faith thing because I didn't even think I would live in it yet. I was anticipating that I'll probably live in it after a year or 2 years or whatever, you know? And not that I was doubting God, but because I was preparing myself for whatever that will happen. So after I got that house, the second thing that actually happened is that I got a promotion at work. And the promotion kind of forced me to now live in that house. For me, it still felt like a dream whereby I couldn't wait for 2025 to come to an end because why are so many things happening so easily? Like, because I don't want to wake up tomorrow and find out that all of this is a dream. So I just want 2025 to come to an end, you know? And I remember after I got this job where it is now expecting me or it requires me to kind of stay in my house, the next thing which was online for me was for me to get my kids to come and live with me in that house. And this has been a prayer for the longest time because the way I've been always on the road, you know, I remember this other friend of mine who would always call my car Bastrat because it is always on the road. And I was not planning on changing the car anytime soon. Even when it gives me problems from time to time, I would always think to myself, I don't want to buy a new car because if I buy a new car, I'm going to ravaza it like this one. And I feel like this one has lasted me long. Like the kilos on it are kilos of a 6 years old car. You understand? Because I've always been on the road between two provinces and all of that stuff. So me being able to now have to apply for schools for my kids, I was already the survivor in me was already ready to stress about finding space for my kids and fighting the department and going up and down. Like I was ready, guys. I was calling people to find out, Ori, where do you start when you need space, when your kids are not getting space, when this and this and this and that is happening in your life, you know? So when I got the space for the kids in the new school, I thought I was dreaming, you know. Still, it was one additional dream on top of all the other dreams that I feel like are happening for me in 2025, even though it's what I've been praying for the longest time. The other day when I was on WhatsApp, I saw a message, a status of a guy that I was supposed to do a swap with back in 2022 when I wanted to move to Mpumalanga, and this guy will move to where I'm staying. Uh, but something just happened and then he decided to change his mind. And I was so heartbroken from that day because I told my kids that we're moving to Pumalanga. And I left that topic. I didn't want to talk to them about it. I just said to them, you guys, when this older one goes to grade 8, when I move out of this place, little did I know that it's going to happen 2 years before that, you know? So from that, to now the book. Yo. And I have a feeling there are things that I'm forgetting. I've got a feeling that there are things that I'm not including here. But yeah, whatever it is that I'm leaving out, I apologize in advance. The book, guys, for those who know, all interviews that I've ever attended, I would always say that um, I have a book that's coming. It's called I Want to Live, I Want to Live, I Want to Live. And the reason why I call it I Want to Live is because I woke up one morning and I said, I really want to live. I want to live a life that is so fulfilling for me that when I wake up in the morning, that desire to live, when I go to sleep, I would have fulfilled it. I would say, I have lived. Even if it means for me to live for that day means that I must sit around and watch TV and eat popcorn. If it is fulfilling for me, then that is life, that is living. That is why I titled my book, I Want to Live, which took me 4 years, from starting to write it in 2021, it's now 2025. And I kind of feel like the delay of the book was so that there's some important things that I didn't add in, like I had not added previously, that I only added this year in 2025. And then I was like, we're wrapping it up. And the publisher was like, my sister, if we don't publish this book, we're never going to publish it because you always have stuff to add. So let's just end it here. If you want to write another book, or if you want to do like a second edition of the same book, we will do that. But for now, this book has to be closed. You've been preaching about having a book released for the past 4 years. So that's now how the book I Want to Live came to life. Let me just tell you guys about the cover of the book. Ne? It's not just a cover, because I could have chosen anything to be on the cover of this book, but the reason why you are seeing it the way that it is on its own. It speaks volume and it speaks life. From the picture itself, this picture of me here with my short white hair, it's a picture that I took on the day that I got my divorce decree, the day that I decided that I want to live. I left that town where I was granted my divorce decree. And I don't know, for those who have seen videos of me on that day when I said the divorce granted and all of that stuff, back in 2021, you will remember I was wearing a white jumpsuit that has got some feathers on one shoulder, and the other shoulder, it was just like a boob tube. So basically, this is what I'm wearing. But unfortunately, because of the picture, you can't see what I'm actually wearing. But this is on that day. And this picture specifically, when I looked at it, I look like I'm looking into something. I look like I'm looking far, like I'm looking at wherever I'm going, the road that is ahead of me. So after that, I went to the photographer on the streets of Pretoria. We took these pictures, beautiful pictures. And this one has always been a picture that whenever I look at it, it looks like it has a lot of hope. It looks like a hope restoration type of picture, because there's no fear in me when I'm looking at this picture. It looks like I really, really look forward to what God has in store for me. I believe that in the beginning of this video, I did say that whenever I face challenges, I'm always excited about what is going to happen after those challenges. So this picture reminds me of how excited I was to actually see what God has in store for me on the other side. And now, when I said to the designer, the graphic designer who actually designed this cover for me, I said, I want a sunrise. I want something which says I'm actually looking, because obviously it can't happen in one cover where it's just me here, it's the sunrise here and the trees and all of that stuff. But I want that to be a combination of what actually I was feeling at that point in time and what I was looking forward to. So the sun that you are seeing here and all of this is literally what I am looking at. I am looking at this bright future that is ahead of me. The sun has risen on me again, and I look forward to seeing what God has in store for me. And I'm going to be living, because I have the desire to live. I'm going to live through all the bright days that God has in store for me in the future. So basically, that is what the cover is all about. But the context of the book and everything, obviously, it depends on person to person who is going to read it. But more than anything, this book has been a healing material for myself. And for those who have already read it, they were complaining about it being like the way it's so interesting, it's too short. They wish it was bigger, because there's a lot of life lessons. I really feel like this is one place where I had to confront myself all around, not only confront myself as a victim or as an enabler, but confronting myself and understanding what happened and how did I end up being the person that I am today. And this is also including the reason why I'm now here as a podcaster, as an author, and as just a person that a lot of people look up to, and they say, look, I read your story, I saw a video of yours, and I knew that I can also survive. For me, that's a scary thing. It's a scary thought, because it really says that God trusted me with his people. And it's a huge responsibility. I look at my kids every day. I'm like, God trusted me with these two people. I don't even know what the heck I'm doing. So I don't even know how God can really trust me with these people. But when it comes to the social media space and the work that I do there, the thought that actually God trusted me with many more people, some of them even older than me, it's scary. It's a scary thought. But I know that if God allowed me to be in this space and do what I'm doing, then He's definitely going to be with me throughout. Um, yeah, so basically that is that about the book. And also when it comes to the podcasting space, because I believe that podcasting has always been one of the material that I've been using as a voice to the voiceless. It has been one, you know, space that I've been using to amplify people's voices without me having to knock on people's doors and all of that stuff. I know that there's a lot more that can still be done, but based on what I've been afforded at the moment, I feel like the podcasting space for me, I don't want to speak about other podcasters and all of that stuff, but for me, I'm just so grateful to God that this space has been there as a mouthpiece, so that people of God can get help. And I've always trusted that God will make it happen for His children to get the help that they need through this space. I know that I've had a lot of people who would ask me, Ori, is there money in podcasting? Is there money in podcasting? And also with the book, I think this is another thing. Okay, let's talk about the money in the podcasting, then we'll come back to the book. Ne? Um, when people were asking me about money being in podcasting, money being in publishing a book, I said that there are certain things in this life that you call passion projects. And when something is a passion project, it doesn't mean that um, it should not make you money. Even the Bible does say that your talent will make room for you, meaning that your talent should be able to pay you. That's why you should not be apologetic when you have to send out that invoice or that rate card when you want to go and give your talents to people, because you still have to bath. That's the Bible. It's not me. So passion projects are supposed to make you money, but what is if you're going to put them in a sequence, money should not be on number one when it comes to the list of things that you are hoping to get out of your passion project. Passion projects are very personal. So people who come to me and they say, is there money in podcasting? You will be very, very disappointed when you join the podcasting space, because you are looking at myself, you are looking at other podcasters, and you're thinking, these people are making money. Because when you get in there with the thought that you just want to make money out of it and you don't make money out of it, you're going to be so frustrated and that project is going to die. But when it comes to you being consistent in your passion project, you always have to remind yourself why you are doing what you're doing. And in my case, I always remind myself that I was actually not doing it for the money. Yes, the money will come, as it is supposed to make room for me to be able to continue doing the work that I'm doing. But the reason why I started to do this was never because of the money that I want to make out of it, but because of the burning desire for me to want to help people and also want to be the voice to the voiceless. Is it still doing that? Because I believe that if a day came where the podcasting space for me is just a place where a video is coming in, it's making money, and that's it, it will be such a disappointment, But if people are still getting help, people are still coming back and they're saying, look, after that video was aired, I remember this one time I saw a guy, we went to visit him in hospital. He was a guest on one of our episodes. And he says that the minister of whatever reached out to him and made arrangements for him to get the help that he needed. All of this because he came to my podcast. And this is somebody that had visited many other places and many other, social spaces to get help before he could come to my podcast. But he was able to get the help that he needed. Many people have come to the podcast and they said after that, they got the help that they needed. They were called by ENCA, they were called by Newsroom Africa, and they wanted a follow-up story and all of that stuff. But for me, the most important thing is, did you get what you came here for when you came to the podcast? And if you did, then I'm happy, because then that means I don't have to answer to God for not doing what He has actually called me to do. And now when it comes to things like a book, because a lot of people were on my neck, they're like, my sister, how dare you uh, take out a book, publish a book, and then after publishing a book, you come out here and you just make an order of like 110 minimum. Because I do the minimum order of 110. I was like, let's print 110 copies, and then let's see how that goes. Probably they're going to be sold until next year, March, one book at a time, one book a day. And then after that, then we will see what happens. Yay. The shock of my life when those books were sold out in 2 days. I was so stressed. Number one, I'm a perfectionist. Number two, I don't like disappointing people. Number three, I don't like owing people. So you understand that mix up, that people have bought the book, they finished the book. More are still having the book on their cart, but they can't order the book because Mina, I only ordered like 110 books. And then now the mess of me having to sort out the orders, because I didn't hire anybody for that, because I thought it was just going to be a small passion project, so even the orders is just going to be one. I'll do it myself whenever the order comes in. So I didn't hire anybody to do that for me. And then now that means that if people didn't get their books as they ordered, I'm owing them money. Guys, my biggest fear, you understand? And even worse, it's my birthday weekend. I have to be going to away on a holiday. And now I'm thinking, oh, these people will be thinking I'm eating their money there on holiday while I didn't even deliver the book. So it was just a mess, guys. And I was so extremely overwhelmed by the fact that people are responding like this. Not that I didn't expect people to respond, but it's because I prefer to be on the ground. I know over the years people have been telling you, Master, you need to start taking you seriously. This is as serious as I can take myself. I can't take myself any more seriously than this, because anything beyond this will just be being having shoulders. It will just be me being proudful. I don't know how to take myself seriously without having pride. And I don't want pride, because I believe even the Bible says that pride comes before a fall. So I don't want any of that, you see. So, but then we managed to sort that out, because I even made an announcement that those who didn't get their books, they must reach out. They did reach out. Everybody got their copies. Now the book is still there. It's still on sale, but now back on to normal price. And then now, I feel like the ordering system is a bit kinder, because we are getting like 7 orders per day, not 50 orders per day. That's stressful. But I have a feeling that by the end of December, I'll be even more stressed. But anyway, I'm really just so grateful to God that this healing material that actually healed me can also heal other people and generations to come. And now, moving on to 2026, I look forward to expanding ways in which I can touch people's lives, ways in which people can get their healing. Obviously, the book being the first on the line to say, look, this is a material that even your grandmother who's in the villages, or somebody who can't, access internet, they should be able to see my way of healing, my way of finding myself, my way of cracking the self-love thing and applying it in their lives, and it can work for them regardless at any given time. But also when it comes to the podcasting space, we look forward to also still hosting people for them to get justice. And I always say that it doesn't give me pleasure that we have to do this type of work, because if everybody did their job, then we wouldn't have to sit here. If people were kind, I remember this one time I got a comment from Instagram where a guy was saying, if there were no criminals, or if there were no abusers, you wouldn't have a job, ne? You wouldn't have work, ne? Then I was like, yeah, I wouldn't have work. I wish everybody had your mindset and they stopped abusing women just so that I don't have work. I don't have anything to do. I would be happy, because then it will be a peaceful world. But the more people have to be abused, the more people have to go through whatever they're going through, then I have to be working. It doesn't please me, but the only thing that I'm pleased with is the fact that at least the people of God know where to go to for help. They're not entirely helpless. And another thing, for me, I feel like then 2026, the 2026 that I'm looking forward to now, it kind of shifts a bit. 2025, I decided that I'm not going to do any women's conferences. I'm not going to do any camps. I'm just going to focus on myself, because I feel like I really needed to focus on myself, because I've been neglecting myself and just focusing on empowering other people, which defies the whole thing of the whole self-love thing. But in 2026, I feel like the camps, we're going to bring that back again, because I see the need. A lot of people are still crying for that, to say, my sister, please, we need the camps. We need to heal around a fire and all of that stuff. So that is definitely going to come back. And also the conferences. The one thing that you guys have put me under pressure on is the fact that I don't even know anymore where is the headquarters for the brand Madam Speaker, because initially I used to think Pretoria is the headquarters, but when I check the analytics on social media, number 1 city is Cape Town. I don't even understand how Cape Town people are just, I don't know, but when it comes to the book, You guys embarrassed me. You humbled me to the core because it's difficult for me to even know where is the headquarters, because it seems like even the launch of the book has to be done everywhere. Because remember, I did the sale of the book without having to launch it. And I said, when we launch, we're gonna be debriefing, we're going to be taking lessons learned. I want the launch itself to also be a healing space, you know? So when I looked at the orders, I'm seeing there are orders from Pumalanga, there are orders from literally every province in this country. There are orders which are coming from there. The majority of them being number one, Gauteng, number two being the Western Cape, number three being Limpopo, hi, Mpumalanga, Northwest. Northwest, hi guys, Northwest really shocked me this year. Northwest shocked me. And so all of that, then it puts a lot of pressure on me to say, that means that I need to reach out to these people. You know, when I was giving the people who stay around Gauteng, especially those who are within my vicinity, I would give them a surprise drop off of a book. Let's say maybe on my way from the house to the studio, I know I'm going to pass, you know, Olifants Fontaine, I'm going to pass Four Ways, or I'm going to pass whatever. Then I would just be the courier person, where I would call the person while I'm outside and say, your book is here. And then when they come, they find that it's me, then they would be happy. That gives me so much joy. I wish I could do that for every single person, but obviously it's not possible. But for those who are probably going to be in Limpopo this December, chances are I'm probably going to be doing the hand deliveries, because it's so fulfilling for me. And I know that the people who already bought the book, you appreciate that, you know. But the one that actually stole my heart, I think I did a video, but I put it in the drafts on TikTok. I'll still post about it. Was this guy who bought the book? Ne? I have this guy on my contact. I've had him for the longest time. I think when I was still making clothes, because that is still on hold for now. It's another story for another day. We're still gonna resurrect that sewing business, Crown Lioness. So I've known him through the sewing business, where I used to um, buy material, fabric, where he works, and also sewing machines. Whenever the machine is faulty, he would assist me and all of that stuff. So I've had him on my WhatsApp. So he sends me a screenshot. He says, I also ordered the book. So when I was looking through the orders, I see, okay, this is where he is. But I felt like, you know what, because of this person, he's one of the people that, and you know, is not far from where I stay. It's like, I think 10 kilos from where I stay. So I was like, I know, I need to go deliver this book. So I call him. I'm like, my brother, I want to deliver the book myself. He's like, okay, no problem. And then when I get to his workplace to deliver the book, he says to me, my sister, I have a confession. Okay, confess. This book is actually not for me. I was not buying it for me. I was buying it for somebody else. Yeah? Yeah. Who is this somebody else? He says, okay, the somebody else that this book I had bought for actually works in the next shop. And she's my girlfriend. For the first time, guys, a man who actually supports his woman to be empowered by me is a very secured man. Like, I was so impressed. I'm like, hi, Bo. So there are men who actually want their women to eat more of my content. Hi, no, I was so shocked. So he was like, look, this person loves you with all of her heart. She doesn't know that I know you personally. Okay, not personally, but business-wise. She doesn't know you that I know. She doesn't know that I know you. So what I would love for you to do is for you to go and deliver the book in the shop where she works. When I tell you that, for me, the fact that this book is going to be added in the history of uniting people. For those who actually think that this is a material to actually destroy marriages or destroy relationships, but this is actually uniting people, because what better gift can you gift someone than for them to desire to live, so that when I and that person can be together? You know, it was such a beautiful thing for me. So I went there, I go to the shop, hi, I'm looking for so and so. Then the person who was assisting me, she was playing. She's like, no, this person resigned yesterday, this person, whatever. But after some time, this lady came, and the way she was screaming, she was so happy. I gave her the book. And for me, that was so fulfilling for me, you know. I think I've had like 5 guys that have read my book, and all of them are like, hey, you know, I was under the impression that this woman actually hates men. But if you read this book, you will understand that this is a material you want to buy for your wife and for your child. So for me, yeah, even though my publisher was pushing me for the longest time to say, she calls me woman of God. I've always said that people who call me woman of God, they always make me so uncomfortable, because why? Why are you calling me woman of God? But she's just deciding to call me woman of God. She's like, woman of God, I don't know why you don't want to take out this book. This book is what the people of God are waiting for the longest time. You need to release this book. There's nothing wrong with this book, because the way I was so unsure, I was even uncertain about sharing my material with other people for them to look at what I've already written. But she was like, yo, you're writing, like this book feels like this is your 10th book. It doesn't even feel like this is your first book. So yeah, it's happening. The material of wanting to live is out there. And now in 2026, back to 2026, I was saying that in 2026, I'm really looking forward to all these multiple launches. Obviously, some of them are probably going to be luncheons or whatever, and some of them are going to be like a normal conference that I usually do, which is like a normal women's conference. But I look forward to all of that. But more than anything, I look forward to seeing more people heal. I look forward to seeing more people being woke, being self-aware, because you should have the desire to live. You should have the desire to live, because if you don't have the desire to live and yet you are still alive, that's like a spit in the face of God. You are spitting to the face of God for keeping you alive while there's absolutely nothing you are doing with your life. So I hope and I pray that when we cross over to 2026, we all find the reason to live. And your reason for living should never ever be attached to, okay, you can live for your family, live for your friends, live for your spouse, live for this and that. But to surpass all of that, I hope and I pray that you find the reason to live for yourself and understand that God brought you to this world not so that you can live for other people, but so that you can live for yourself. So meaning that even when you are standing alone, you matter. You matter no matter what, no matter how people can whisper things to your ears to tell you how worthless you are, how much you don't deserve this and that. But I want you to always believe that you matter, and there's a reason why God has kept you alive this long. You have to live. On top of you living for yourself, yes, you can live for your children, you can live for your spouse, you can live for your colleagues and all of that. You can become a blessing. And I always say that the one thing that for me gets to me all the time is when I hear, and it kind of angers me in a way. If you attend somebody's funeral and there are people on the program and they're speaking about this person, in most cases, you will find people talking about how much they have lost a person because this person used to do this for them. But the very same person who is gone now, they can't even point, while they're still alive. Like as a person, I can't say this person was alive and I saw them doing this for themselves and I was inspired. That is what is lacking, especially in us women. May you live an inspirational life so that people can see you doing things for yourself, so that when they see you doing things for yourself, they can be inspired to do things for themselves as well. The last one that I want to touch on before we wrap it up is it goes back to fear, né? And my way of overcoming fear, right? I believe that this year I went over and beyond, but even the year before that and the year before that, I would do certain things that are very much questionable in terms of fulfilling for me. So the recent thing that I did was to visit a place called Livingstone Island in a pool of, what do you call this, a waterfall. And that pool is called the Devil's Pool. I don't like the name of the pool. My daughter even made it clear that, Mama, why the devil? Why not something else? I don't like the fact that this pool is called the Devil's Pool. But I went to visit the Devil's Pool, and to tell you the truth, the whole time when we were walking on the rope, because what happens is that you hold onto the rope from the shore. Okay, the river is not a shore, it's a bank, river bank. There's a rope from the river bank which you have to hold on to as you are crossing in the river so that you don't go away with the current. And then until you get to the pool. But when you're inside the pool, there's no rope, because I've had people saying, no, there's a rope which actually is tied around your leg. There's no such. The rope is not tied on your leg. The rope is there to just guide you so that the current doesn't take you as you are going to where the pool is. And when you get inside the pool, it's like 4 meters deep. So if you can't swim, they will obviously help you and to cross over to that side where the water is falling. And then you sit on it, you take your pictures, you take your videos, and there's somebody who's actually standing on the side. They're taking aerial views. I think that is why it's more scary when you're looking at it in the pictures, but in real life, it's not that scary. And another thing, which is the worst that can happen to you while you are there, is that there are fishes, very tiny fishes, guys, in that water, and they yank on you. Like they're busy doing you like this. You see how if somebody's poking you with nails like this, that's what those fishes are doing, because apparently they feed on dead skin. So they chow on you So when you see people screaming there, it's not because of the current or because they're seeing how deep the waterfall is. It's because those fishes are busy eating on you, you know. So all of that exercise for me was a very exciting exercise. It's supposed to be a scary exercise, but it wasn't. It was an exciting exercise because I use these activities as my way of testing how fearful I am as a person. So there are many ways that people can get rid of fear. And we all know that in the Bible always speaks about us not fearing anything. Be fearless, because when you are fearing something, your faith falls off. So it's very important. I'm not saying you guys should go walking with lions like I did. I'm not saying you guys should go sea walking at the bottom of the ocean like I did. So my belief is that you should always have your own fear meter. And mine obviously is not going to be the same as everybody else. But it's very, very important for you to keep your fear as minimal as possible. Find ways to check how fearful you are of whatever that is ahead of you. It doesn't always have to be tangible things, but how you test yourself and your heart is very, very important. You need to do that check. Because with me, for example, having to do all of these activities that I love to do so much, which are activities that are scary, and being excited in the process of it, for me, it kind of gives me it validates me in a way, to say I am still as fearless as I have been, and I don't want to lie and say that I've always been fearless, because there are times where I was fearful, like any other person. There was a time where, if I can just take you guys back, for those who have not read my book, there was a time where when I was losing my house in divorce, my kids were asking me that, Mama, where are we going? And to be quite honest with you, I didn't know where we were going. And the reason why I didn't know where we were going was because nobody was willing to give me a house to rent, because my credit was really, really bad, which is why I always emphasize for people who, are taking loans and taking all of these debts, not because you guys are, even if you are husband and wife, the thing is that in most cases, you may find that maybe the man has got bad credit for whatever reason. And then you guys have an agreement through pillow talk that the wife is the one who's going to accumulate all of the debts. If you want to buy a house, if you want to buy a car, this and that, everything will be taken under the wife's name. So you need to be very careful. And I feel like for me, the biggest lesson out of all of that was that if somebody could not even be trusted by the bank, how do I then trust that person? Because I ended up having to find myself swimming in debt so much that when I now needed to start my life from scratch, I couldn't even do it. And the reason why I couldn't do it was because nobody was trusting to give me a house to rent, because my credit was really, really bad, And now my biggest fear during that time was when my kids were saying to me, Mama, where are we moving to? And by that time, I don't have a place where we're moving to. So fear really filled my heart so much, not because I think more than anything, what I don't want, learning from my own life, is I don't want to intentionally inflict my children with traumas that tomorrow they have to heal from and say, Mama was doing this, and when they confront me, I can't answer for those. I know that we can't entirely protect our kids and shield them and put them in a bottle, but there are certain traumas that even when they confront you with them in the future, you can tell them, or look, this is my situation. This was my situation during that time, and I'm sorry that I had to put you through this trauma, but this is the reality of my life. You can't entirely protect your kids from everything, but you can try your best to try and protect them. And one thing that is a trauma that I didn't want my kids to ever go through was them moving from having a home which is secured, which is a beautiful home, to them being homeless and living on the streets with me. If it was me living on the streets alone, if I didn't have the kids, I don't think I would have had the fear that I had during that time, because when I looked at my kids, I was trying by all means to protect them from any kind of trauma that is unintended and that is going to destroy them for the rest of their lives. So my biggest fear during that time was me not knowing where I was going with the kids, the story where I was saying, well, no, eventually my employer gave me a place to stay, and then my kids were happy and all of that stuff. So I'm not entirely saying that I am a neste of not having fear, because I've had instances in my life where I was fearful. And I do know that whenever I am fearful, whenever I try to find solutions, tangible solutions for myself, that's the minute I move away from my faith and my belief in God. So I try by all means to do things which they gauge my fear level. so that I can always remind myself that when I have God, I should be fearless. So I know for other people, there are different ways where you can use to as a meter or as a gauge to see how fearful you are. But I want you to make it a point that in 2026, you try to minimize your fear as much as possible. And if it means you have to do certain things that you're uncomfortable with just to prove to yourself that you are managing your fear, then do it. You can do whatever that you think can work for you, especially if you can just focus on things that you've been fearful of for the longest time. Try to tackle those things and train yourself so that they minimize your fear. And I'm telling you, that will work wonders in your life. That's basically what happens with me. And it's probably one of the reasons why I have an acquired taste when it comes to activities that actually excite me. And like I was saying, that when I was walking through the rope going to the devil's pool, I was excited. The amount of times where I was saying to my friend, oh my gosh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. If you ever want to make me happy, just take me somewhere. Let me stamp my passport. I want to go out there and do something that is fearful. And mind you, when you do these activities, there's a lot of things that are in place. There's a lot of safety precautionary measures that they put in place. But as a normal person, you would think that, what if I get into that plane and the next thing it crashes? But the fact that you are exercising your fear muscle so that you keep it as minimal as possible, whatever that works for you, I would advise that you do it. I think if you have that and you list down all of your things for 2026, your New Year's resolutions, I believe that if you remove fear from a lot of things, your 2026 will be a good year, because when you get rid of fear, 90% of your problems are gone. Everything else just requires you to implement. So I pray that even in your prayers, always ask God to minimize your fears. And also, once you have prayed that God must minimize your fear, you must also act in a way that it shows that you are fearless, because that fearlessness is going to be very effective in a lot of areas of your life. I think this is where I now wrap it for the year 2025. We shall see each other in 2026. I love you. God bless you. Mwah.